Come, come.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, Shruti. Please take your seat.
Thank you, sir.
So, if you want, you feel more comfortable without the mask, then you can take it off. So, Shruti, your father is an architect.
Yes, sir.
You have no interest in architecture?
Sir, I do like looking at buildings and understanding things, but as a profession,
No. But history also, I think there is a bit of architecture which goes into that.
Yes, sir.
So, tell me this, what is, this central vista, the way it's being laid out and planned, what value do you think it will add to Delhi in terms of its architecture and town planning?
Yes, sir. So, the Central Vista has been planned as a redesigning of the space around the parliamentary building and the secretariats. The main reason for the replanning is certain spatial problems that the area has in terms of a lack of space, and those buildings were made in a certain time period, sir. And a long time has passed since then, and due to those reasons, that step is being taken. At the same time, there is also an attempt to redesign a place in a new architectural sort of layout. So that can also be a positive step, sir.
So this new architectural layout, what exactly does it kind of represent?
Sir, I'm not very aware about the details and the designing of the space.
Okay, fine. Actually, tell me one thing. This global gender gap, there is a report which is brought out by some agency. Which agency brings it out?
Sir, the World Economic Forum.
So what is it? Is it an intergovernmental body? Is it?
It is an international body. I'm not aware if it is a intergovernmental body per se or.
So what do you mean by international body?
So I think it has international countries as well as other organizations as members that may not be necessarily state actors.
But are some governments also members?
Sir, I'm not aware about the compositions.
Okay, so what is you are aware of their latest report and India's ranking in it?
Sir, I don't remember the exact ranking.
Okay. So, but it has come down by some 28 positions, isn't it?
Yes.
What does it show?
So, since independence, I believe, sir, the position of women has continuously increased and has become better in certain ways, I do believe, sir. At the same time, certain gaps do exist in the economic, social, as well as educational realm and in political representation, which is shown through the gender gap, sir. And these differences between the position of men and women is something that we do need to work on. And the gender gap index is an indicator of the steps that we need to take forward in this direction, sir.
How do you see that it is an indicator of the steps that we need to take? Can you just, tell us how exactly is this arrived at? What is the basis of this indexing?
So in terms of the methodology used in the index, I'm not aware about the specific indicators, but I do think that the very index and the fact that we have gone down 28 steps is a point where we should come in and try to increase representation of women, say in the parliament from the current 14% to more. The gender gap index also in terms of income is around 27% according to the IMF in terms of wage gap between men and women. So these are certain areas where certain steps definitely can be taken. So the very idea that we have gone down 28 steps should be a clarion call for us to do more.
No, this is a good point which you are making. Of course, one can also wonder that how accurate is this index if in 1 year it falls, a country like India is a big country, falls 28 position. It shows certain weakness probably in the index itself. And we see very often that we don't agree with the way the indices are built. But are you aware broadly what are the 4 factors which they take into account?
Sir, I
You
haven't
actually
read-
mentioned a couple of them.
Yes.
It's about access to resources, and I think political empowerment is one, and economic, space in economic activity is another. But there are, okay, forget about what they do. If you have to measure, what else would you take into account?
So apart from economic indicators and wage gap, apart from political representation, I think educational status is
Good.
one that needs to be taken into account.
Good.
Social position, although it's hard to quantify that in terms of an index and a numerical number, is certainly one thing that needs to be taken into account, and the presence of women in the public space. So,
Okay.
the visibility of women in the public space.
Now, isn't the political representation in some way capturing this?
Yes, sir. Sir, I do believe.
What
but
about
I think-
health?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Thank
Health,
you.
health is.
Health is a very, very important part, especially
indicator.
the maternal mortality rate.
So, if you have to take health as an indicator, forget about this index. Just tell me, as an administrator, if you have to advise somebody to take health also as an indicator, what way will you suggest that this is the way we can measure health?
Sir,
Think and answer.
So, with specific reference to women, sir?
Yeah.
So, starting from the entire lifeline of a woman, so right from the early age, I believe rates of female feticide are one. Secondly, the malnutrition rates among women, girl children and male children. The differences between that can be an indicator. Malnutrition rates are known to be greater among girl children because of the preference that is given to male child over certain things like milk or eggs which come into the household. Thirdly, sir, is the case of anemia, and anemia rates, in fact, according to the NFHS survey, have gone up rather than coming down with respect to women. So anemia is a major case. Maternal mortality rate, although has come down in the NFHS 5 data, but certain states it's very alarming, especially Assam and Uttar Pradesh.
Excellent. I think you have given a very good reply, I should say. Now, this is going to be my last subject or topic that I am going to touch. And you tell me what is happening in Sri Lanka. What is this crisis, and what are its drivers? What led to this crisis?
Yes, sir. So, the Sri Lankan economic crisis is very extreme at this point, and I recently read that even exams are being cancelled because of the lack of paper. So it's a very, very extreme state. The reasons for it have also been therefore gradual and have accumulated over time. Firstly, sir, is its massive debt burden at that point, and that also has been due to a lot of factors. One of them being the extreme debt dependency on countries like China. Secondly, sir, tourism is a major source of income for the Sri Lankan economy, and the COVID pandemic also had a major impact on that source of income. Then thirdly, sir, certain policies that the government has taken have also been faulty on a domestic level, such as the policy decision to have only organic food in the country. So that brought down the productivity and the economy of the country. The forex reserves have also gone down, and it's a very import-dependent country at this point. So these are a variety of reasons why I feel the economic situation.
You made very good points, and So this policy decision to kind of have only organic food in India, also there are quite a lot of people who tend to argue that the use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides and all these things should be completely stopped. They go one step further, and also they say that no GMO should be introduced. Would you be inclined to agree with them, or you don't agree with them, or agree partially with them?
Sir, I do think that chemical fertilizers and excessive use of pesticides in the long run does have a deleterious impact, not only on the health of the people but also the farmers, and also leads to decreasing productivity of the soil in the long run, as can be seen in Punjab recently. So the step towards organic is definitely a positive step, but I do think it should be gradual and rather than being sudden. And other factors should also be taken into account in terms of productivity, and alternative research should also be done on it. So I think it should be a step-by-step decision, and Sikkim has been a very positive example of the first organic state, but small steps in the long run can be a better way to go forward.
Good, excellent, thank you.
Yeah, Shruti, I am quite delighted to learn that you are from the same school as I studied, Sardar Patel School. Huh?
Yes.
How did you find the school?
I had a very positive experience in the school.
Did you learn some Gujarati? Huh?
So I had a lot of Gujarati food. I couldn't learn Gujarati language.
Because during our time, till class 8, Gujarati was compulsory. So we started learning and reading and writing Gujarati. So it was a good culture. But anyway, good. I think it's a very nice upbringing in that school. Now, coming from Hindi, mathematics, social science, and economics background, you suddenly switched over to history in your BA honors. Why so? Why did you stick to the subjects which you had already specialized in the schooling?
So, in my 11th and 12th, I took humanities as my specialization. So, I did study history in my 11th and 12th. And it was during those years, 11th and 12th specifically, that my interest in history grew due to my teachers and due to my love for the subject, which made me take it forward in my graduations.
I see that, in the choice of preferences, you have chosen IAS as #1 preference. Can I know the reason why IAS? Why not IPS? Why not IFS? There are other services also very good. And you must have seen the recent article by Dr. Subbarao. I don't know whether you have gone across, which says that IAS has failed the nation. It's a much talked about article which has come only last week. It was headline, which our Governor RBI, the ex-Governor RBI had written that IAS has failed the nation. What are your views on the IAS?
So firstly, I have not gone through that particular article, but sir, I do think that every institution can have certain procedural problems and certain hurdles that it comes across. But at the same time, there is a reason why it is called the steel frame of our country. And personally, sir, the reason why I wanted to pursue the administrative services specifically as my first choice was there are a variety of reasons. The first being that I always wanted to be part of something where I could directly serve the people in some capacity, sir. Secondly, sir, the diversity that this job offers, and on a personal level, the experience and the vast source of learning that this diversity can lead to into my personal growth was a factor that made me choose the services, sir.
You have been born and brought up in Delhi. Can you tell me what are the problems of a common man in Delhi that you must have also experienced?
Yes, sir. So Delhi is a wonderful city, but it comes with certain problems as well. The first being that is much talked about is the pollution, which has especially increased in the last 5-6 years. Secondly, sir, is the problem of traffic that we sometimes come across, especially at certain choke points. So that is an issue. Thirdly, sir, I would say, although it has gradually improved due to the continuous conversation about it, is the issue of women's safety. So these are three things that I would like to.
So what difference as an IAS officer can you make? Suppose you are posted to Delhi and as district collector, how do you propose to go about it to handle these challenges?
Yes, sir. So firstly, with respect to pollution, I think it's not a one-step approach or a one-solution approach. As can be seen in other countries who have successfully tackled pollution as well. It has taken multiple years. It has taken 5 to 6 years and a concerted action plan on all fronts. So certain steps are being taken, such as technological in terms of smog towers. Along with that, especially in the case of Delhi, considering the sources of pollution, which especially are stubble burning. So cooperation with other states is also important. So the recent commission that has been formed, the Air Commission, with involvement from other states is a positive step. Awareness of the people in terms of reducing vehicular pollution and encouraging public transport, which is being done through the electric vehicle policy and increased buses, is a positive step. So I think a step-by-step approach on all fronts can tackle pollution. So secondly, with respect to traffic, there again, there are certain problems. I personally believe that the choke points where traffic happens is also because of delayed construction projects that have missed 7 to 8 deadlines, and the work is still going on slowly. So ramping up those specific construction projects where great traffic bottlenecks are and a lot of traffic is also there and footfall is greater, should be specifically targeted. Then this is one specific thing that comes to mind, sir. And with respect to women's safety, certain steps have already been taken by the current government in terms of reducing dark spaces. But I think overall, an environment where women are out in the public spaces more, there is greater transit-oriented development, where women transportation, I think, is the foremost step which must be taken so that women can travel at any hour safely. So the step about women marshals in the buses is a positive step, and more such steps should be taken, including the Delhi Metro. So I think transportation can be a major way in which women's safety can be put at the forefront.
But very good. I mean, the only thing is that, there are plethora of studies, documentation on each of these aspects. Several commissions, experts, authors, academicians, they have written about it and studied and analyzed. But all those reports are lying and gathering dust somewhere. And considering that the government in the center is that of BJP, the state in the Delhi, the Union Territory, it is AAP, as you know. Now, how do you actually balance the two as a bureaucrat? That you have certain directions flowing from the government of India, certain directions flowing from the local government. So how do you balance the different ideologies?
Yes, sir. So Delhi is a certain unique example where it is the national capital territory of India, as well as a state in a certain respect in its own regard. So a balance must be struck between both fronts. But at the same time, police, apart from police, land and public order, certain decisions do lie with the state government as well. So I think the spaces for work are clearly defined by the constitution, and following that, sir, would be my utmost priority.
Great. I'll just take you away from your the other academic activities and all. Let me just concentrate on the extracurricular activities which interest me is that exploring world cinema you have written. Huh?
Yes.
So this is very heartening, that you are also interested in exploring world cinema. What is this world cinema about? What were you doing in this area?
So, sir, I believe that cinema, apart from the medium in which dialogues are spoken, has also a vocabulary of its own. And if we look at cinema from, say, Iran or Korea or Hong Kong or India, and I feel there is a commonality of topics. The filmmaker's craft itself does not know any languages. So exploring that and looking at the commonality of interest, as well as it being an insight into different cultures, is what especially fascinates me about world cinema.
Have you ever tried to make a movie of your own? Did you ever try your hand at that? Some documentary or something?
So the only time that I was part of such a project was in school, where we were filming a small film about the school. But personally, sir, I have not tried my hand at it.
But now, just looking at what your world cinema interest is, do you think with so much of plethora of channels coming up, private channels in the country, and the freedom of expression is already there, enshrined in the Constitution, is there any need for the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting now in the country? Why should we have a ministry? Because people are free to, air their views and everything. So why should we have a Ministry of Information Broadcasting?
So while it is great that we have a diversity of interests, and this diversity can be seen in the different platforms that have also come up, such as OTT platforms as well. At the same time, sir, I do believe that a certain regulation is needed for the industry as well, in terms of safeguarding certain rights. And the Article 19 of the Constitution itself says that the freedom of expression also has certain, can also be bound by certain restrictions as well, reasonable restrictions, sir. And there are certain problems also associated, especially in terms of regulation of children content, which the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting does regulate. It recently has also brought about, in conjunction with the METI, guidelines for the OTT platforms, sir. So I think those needs still remain, and in fact only increase with the increasing content and the freedom of expression's expansions.
Excellent. Thank you, Shruti.
Thank you, sir.
Shruti, have you heard about this Ram Setu?
Yes.
Is it man-made or it is natural?
So, I haven't read any specific research papers on the Ram Setu per se, but I do think that it is a natural body which